Okay, so here we've got our room temperature oxtail. Look how beautiful these suckers look. Nice and meaty, big chunks of bone in there. Gonna be lots of good collagen cartilage. Make it nice and gelatinous and flavorful. Here we have the mixture of flour, Coleman's mustard, and whole black peppercorn. So what we're going to do is just lightly toss these around in here, get them nice and covered. I'm just going to take these in one at a time, throw them in here, and then we will sear them. Get them a nice golden brown color. Don't want too much flour on it, just want them coated. It's going to help lock in all those juices, give it a nice golden brown color. It's going to be delicious. Alright, here we go. Okay, so I will go ahead, cut to the chase. You don't need to watch me doing all this. I will finish breading these little bits up, and then I will get right back to you. Okay, so here we are. We've got the oxtail nicely breaded in our flour mixture there. I've got a little bit of beef tallow that I made last time. Use that. And got my pan nice and heated here. So we are just going to take a little bit of tallow, throw that in our pan here. Want this nice and hot. I'm going to grill these up, seal in all these juices, get a nice golden brown color on our oxtail here. Okay, now that's nice and warm. So it's looking good. You can hear it sizzling. Now we will just take our oxtail, put them in there, turn it down just a little bit. That's beautiful. That's the sound we want though. Nice seared, delicious. Oh, this is going to be so good. I can't wait. So one of the keys, one of the reasons we use red wine is that the acidity in the wine helps break down the cartilage and the bone marrow so that we get the health benefits of this wonderful marrow. Amazing benefits. If you haven't looked into the benefits of bone broth, do that on YouTube. There's a ton of videos about it. But you know, in this era of people taking glucosamine and chondroitin and all these joint health additives and supplements, you know, you can really just get those same things and more by cooking bone-in meat. So here we go. I'm going to let this go for a little bit. Just get a nice golden brown on there, and then we will commence to putting those in the pot. Oh yeah, now that's what we want right there. See that nice golden brown color? That's locking in all those juices. So you want to rotate it around. Just using a basic pair of tongs just to rotate it around, make sure get it nice and grilled on all sides. So it ends up like such. Then while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and prep my vegetables. I'm going to cut 2 onions up and 4 little cloves of garlic, and I'm just going to dice these up and throw these in the bottom of the pot here. Then when the oxtail is done, I'll throw that on top of the onions and garlic, and I will season it a little bit, and then I will add some beef broth and our wine, and we'll set that to simmer. So I will come back in a moment and we'll get on with that. Okay, so what I've done is taken the pan off the heat here. Ooh, I'm gonna let it cool down just a bit. All right, and what we want to do is just braise the vegetables a little bit. While that pan is cooling, I'm gonna go ahead and put. I'm using organic beef broth from Trader Joe's. So we're gonna go ahead, put that in here. Get this ready as our pan is cooling. Multitasking here. Okay, and we are also going to add almost half a bottle of red wine. Now, the red wine is key. You can use vinegar, apple cider vinegar, white wine or red wine, but you know, when doing beef, you definitely want to use red wine. But the key is the acidity of the red wine helps break down the cartilage and the marrow in the bones, freeing those up to form a delicious, healthy, gelatinous base in your stew. Now that our pan is cooled, we go ahead, put our carrots in there. We're not cooking them, we're just trying to get a little juice from that meat in there. What we want to do is get that temperature up a little bit. I'm going to throw a tiny little bit of red wine in there. There we go. You can hear that sizzling, so once again, the acidity of the red wine is going to pull the meat juices out of the pan there. Don't want to leave anything wasted. This is all going to become part of our flavor profile and add to the depth and complexity of the flavor of this wonderful dish. Just kind of lightly release the meat cookings from the bottom there, from the bottom of the pan. Notice I'm not using a metal spatula, I'm using just plastic spatula. There we go. Okay, now I'll just lightly braise those up. Then I will throw in our onions and do the same. Excuse me. All work and no play. Ah, that's a good cheap $4.99 bottle of red wine from Trader Joe's. It's going to do the trick nicely. Now we will start our stock. Get that heating up in the meantime while we've got this going here. Okay. It's looking nice. Got to turn the heat up on that a little bit. Get it cranking. And we're just kind of doing just searing these a little bit. And then we're almost ready to throw the beautiful meat in there. So now I will throw carrots into our stock. Saute these onions up. A little bit of garlic, 4 cloves, chopped pretty fine. This is all just going to disintegrate and become a thickening agent for the base. It'll be a deliciously flavorful thickening agent. Okay, we'll let those go for a little bit and I will be right back. Okay, so our onions and garlic are nicely sauteed up here. Beautiful golden color to them. It's Going to release a lot of the flavor. And once again, this is just for the base, to thicken up the base of our stew a little. So I'm going to go ahead and add these to our liquid. And then we are going to put the delicious golden brown oxtail. Look how nice that looks. Oh, it's delicious. Wow, it looks so succulent. I'm going to set the oxtail in here. Now you may want to go with 1 pound of oxtail. I went with 3. So this thing is gonna be packed to the brim. But that's okay. It's gonna be delicious. And food for a week. Oh, look at that. Delicious. I had to go out and buy this pot today because I didn't have a big enough pot to fit all this. I knew I was going big, going a little overzealous out the gates. Okay, now that looks delicious. We are going to go ahead and let that come up to a boil. As soon as it comes to a boil, we're going to then we will throw it in the oven, preheated at 350. We are then going to leave it for 3 hours. So once that comes to a boil, we'll be back. Okay, so here we are. We've got a nice simmer going on this. I've added a little bit of spice to it. Once again, we're keeping this pretty simple. So all we're rocking with here is a little bit of Himalayan sea salt, the good pink stuff there, some whole black peppercorn crushed up, and some everyday seasoning from Trader Joe's. So keeping it pretty basic. Gonna turn this down now and throw it into the oven, which I've preheated at 300 degrees. We are gonna leave it there for 3 hours at least, and then you know, come back and do the next phase. But so with oxtail, the longer you cook it, the better. So this could go, what do we got? 6:40. Okay, so I'm gonna come back at 10 o'clock. It's 3 hours and 20 minutes, and we'll come back and check on this then. But I mean, we could even leave it overnight. Like I'm saying, the longer the better. So I'm gonna throw that in the oven, and we'll be back. And as you can see now, we've got a lovely broth mixture going here. All that gelatin is broken down, and as you can see now, it's just liquid. Just a beautiful liquid. I mean, okay, so here's a, there we go. Look at that. All the meat is just falling right off of these bones. And so you've got, if you can see that, you've got this bone that, let me grab that and illustrate that a little more. So all of the, so you see that all of the tendons, the cartilage in the joint has just melted off of that bone, and it's all become part of the gelatin in this stew. And it's going to be so good for you. So absolutely lip smacking, deliciously good for you. So we're going to bring this to a simmer. That's what I'm working on right now. And then we'll turn it down. Or bring it to a boil, rather, I'm sorry. Then we'll turn it down, throw the potatoes in it, a couple more carrots, and it'll be done. Let it go for another 45 minutes. We'll be back. I'll be back in a minute. Now, this is going to a nice simmer. all that gelatin is melted down, and as you can see, and look at that, everything is just melted right off of these bones. So you've got all that cartilage and that, you know, that wonderful joint material all melted down to make this wonderful gelatin. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to take this, we're going to strain it, get the bones and everything out of it, throw it back in the pot. Okay? So I brought it to a boil. Now we got it to go into a nice low simmer. Gonna go ahead and cover it and let it sit for another 45 minutes. Now those potatoes will soften up and add to the thickness and deliciousness of this wonderful stew. Alright, so here we are. Now I kind of went a little overboard on this. I cooked this for about 9 hours. You don't have to cook it that long. You can cook it 3 hours. The longer you cook it, the better. But look how delicious this is. Now, what you're seeing there is that's gelatin. That is so gelatin rich that, I mean it's almost the consistency of oatmeal. It's so there's just tons of nutrient rich gelatin in there, which not only is it really good for you, but it's delicious. So what I've done is diced up some mushrooms here. I'm going to go ahead and heat this up. Throw the mushrooms in there, let it go for about another 45 minutes, then we'll be done. Okay, so here we are. I've been heating this up, stirring it, to avoid it from burning on the bottom. And as you can see, I've got it on a pretty high heat, but I'm continually stirring it. As you can see, we're starting to get a little boiling there. So I'm going to turn the flame way down. Get a nice little simmer there. I am going to add our mushrooms here. Wonderful organic mushrooms. Now I will stir these in. Then we're going to just let this simmer down for a little while. Let those mushrooms all become part of it. It's going to be amazing. The flavor is already just through the roof. I mean, it is delicious just from licking the spoon. Oh my god. So, wonderful recipe that I found online and just tweaked a little bit to come up with this. So anybody can do it. Super easy, a little time consuming, but you don't have to spend as much time as I did. One thing you want to be careful of is the bones really fell apart. So this is a little piece of a bone. Oh my god, that's delicious. So I would just be careful. I strained it once, and you may want to go ahead and strain it twice, just to avoid having any little bone pieces like that. But what that's a sign of is that the oxtail completely broke down, releasing that wonderful collagen and cartilage and all that. So really good for the joints, good for bone health, good for stomach health. If you have gut problems, you want to try some oxtail stew. Okay, so we got this going at a simmer here. Well, it should be any moment anyway. We're just going to let this sit for about another 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And then it'll be ready to serve up. We'll be ready for eating. And I can just tell you this is going to be delicious. I mean, look how hearty that is. Got big chunks of potato and carrots. Oh, once these mushrooms get all blended into the mix, it's gonna, oh my god, it's gonna be fantastic. And the more you cook the mushrooms, if you put the mushrooms in earlier, they would completely break down and just kind of act as a thickening agent, much like the onions did. So that's another option, is to just to add the mushrooms when you add the onions. But I decided I wanted a little more texture. I want to actually, I want the mushrooms to stand out. So we'll be back in about 45 minutes with a taste. Can't wait. Okay, here we are. The stew is finally finished. 9 hours in. You don't have to cook it that long. You could do 3 hours, but here it is, 9-hour stew. And look at that. Oh my god, delicious. There's my bowl right there. I can't wait to try it. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.